Knitters, crocheters, welcome. Welcome to the Wandering Knitters YouTube channel. My name is Angela. Hello. If you are interested in hearing my knitting journey stories as a fellow crafter, please come sit down. Bring your crochet hook, your knitting needles, a nice warm cup of tea, and if it's the evening, a nice glass of wine, and let's sit down and get to talking. I am co-hosted, whether I like it or not, by my cat, Nisa. She likes to jump in randomly and give us her 2 cents about the life and the knitting. Anyways, so today we have the two sections. The first one's going to be the nitty gritty. I'm going to talk about what I've knitted, what I am knitting. And then the second part, which is Life Unraveled, I'm actually going to be knitting with you guys. So stay tuned for that if you just want to have a video to have somebody knitting with you while I chat a bit about life. So let's get on. As usual, I have my Ravelry set up here with all the information so that I can give you guys all the technical information and not make as many mistakes as I could if I didn't have it up. The first thing I want to show you, I finished these maybe like in the beginning of January, and these are the World's Simplest Mittens by Tin Can Knits. My son has been using them like crazy. He loves these. He loves them. Today, when I brought him to daycare, I had him use these other gloves, and he saw these and he wanted to bring them with him. He was really kind of upset, and so I had to bribe him, and just so I could show you guys these mittens, super fast. They are by the infamous Tin Can Knits. I used their app, which I talked about in my first episode, and yeah, they were very, very easy. I knitted them one at a time, so they are not perfectly aligned. They're not exactly the same, but it's okay. They are very dirty, but we'll talk about all of the wear and tear of this later. The pattern is by Tin Can Knits. You can download it on their app and use their app, which I love because you can like tailor the pattern that you see specifically to your dimensions and your yarn weight, and it makes it a lot easier to read the pattern when you're only seeing exactly what you're going to be knitting. Or you can get on Ravelry as well. It's for free. All of the information of everything that I've knitted and that the yarn I'm using is on my YouTube channel. If you check the description of this video, you'll see it's all there. And yeah, so this is that. Very simple. Honestly, for kids, for toddlers, I prefer mittens than gloves because I can very easily get mittens on him because it's just like, okay, your thumb and the rest. Whereas with like regular gloves, which I had to put him on today, oh my God, it's just a mess because he's like 2.5, right? And so he doesn't know how to put the gloves in each finger. Yeah, it can be difficult, and I prefer these for him. This yarn is Lana Grossa Cool Wool Big. I got this at a local yarn shop in Leiden. So the yarn shop in Leiden is called Ribbles, and it's like in the city center. It's like the area, like the walking area, and it's just the cutest thing. You get in there and they have like this whole entire wall of just yarn, and they have it color coded. So it is a little bit difficult if you're going there and you're like not looking for a specific color, but you're looking for like maybe specific weight or specific, like, because that's what I was. I came in there and I was like, oh, I need Aran weight yarn, and it got a little. I needed help but luckily the people who work there, they know exactly where everything is, and so you could ask them and they will help you find any weight of yarn you need if you need to. I really like this local yarn shop, and so if I could support local, I will. And so this is where that yarn comes from. So this is a worsted weight yarn, and it is 100% merino wool. Probably could have picked something that was not 100% wool for Mittens for a toddler, but he loves them and they're really soft. I actually have not blocked these yet because I know that they're gonna get bigger because I've made a swatch. And what I'm gonna do is I'm letting him wear these until it grows out, and then I'm going to block them and make so that what they will block and they'll block bigger. However, they are very dirty and I've been cleaning it as I can, but they need a hard wash. So I might just have to go ahead and wash and block these and let them get a little bit bigger. You can see there's a bit of halo from the wear. The ends started to stick out. The ends that I weaved in that were inside have creeped out and made their way outside. But I love them. They're so simple, and he loves these. He loves to wear them. He wears them at the beach. He wears them when we're on the bike, when we go do grocery shopping, when I take him to school. He plays in the sand with these. He eats croissant with these, and he does a lot. And so it makes me so happy. Honestly, if I knit something and I see that it's like this and it gets all ruggedy, I love it because it means that it's being used and it's being loved. And so happy. And yeah, if you have children, I really I could very much recommend this pattern. It's so simple and doesn't take much time. The next pattern, the next finished object that I have, okay, so this one is called The Perfect Cat Bed, and it's by Kaylee Cosmas. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. So this is the cat bed. You pretty much are knitting garter, right? And then when you're done, you weave in the beginning and the end of your work, and then you then weave in and pull in one end of it like that. It's a very simple construction. It can hold its own weight, so that's cool. I have to admit, this thing has not been used. The yarn, first of all, I did not buy this yarn. This is a Hobie Fantasy Jumbo yarn. I held it double. So that's why it is so thick. It is held double. This yarn is by Hobie, and it is a super bulky 100% acrylic yarn. I was ordering a yarn from Hobie on their website, and when I got the package, this is what I got. I got 2 skeins of this, and I was like, what? I contacted them immediately, and I was like, okay, I obviously got someone else's order. Can you get me my yarn and I can send you this back? And while I was waiting for them to respond, I just had it sitting there, and if I'm being completely frank, I was like, this is so ugly. Like, this yarn is so ugly. I was like, who the heck would use this? And then, but as it sat there and I was waiting for a response, I started to just like appreciate more of the colors. I'm like, well, I mean, it is kind of like really out there, but it's kind of like fun. And then I got an email from them, lo and behold, and they were like, just keep the yarn and we'll send you yours, and you can keep this one for free. And so I gave half of it to my friend here who is a crocheter, and I used the other half to make this cat bed for my cat. The yarn, it's not a yarn that I would gravitate to. I'm not really a super fan of acrylic. I know that it's made from petroleum and it's made from plastic, and it's not good for the environment. And so if I can try to not get plastic yarn, I don't. But you know, there's always a time and a place, and I love mixes. I love blends that are like wool and acrylic, or It's nylon. And so I don't shame acrylic, but it's just not what I tend to go towards. And also, I don't like the feel of it. I really don't. I'm sorry for all you acrylic lovers out there, but it's just not my cup of tea, y'all. It's not. Anyways, this this I made not really because I wanted to make a cat bed for my cat. It was more like I was going through something in my life. I had just gotten some really traumatic news, and I just needed to knit, just to knit. As I'm sure most of you know or have experienced, I feel that like knitting and crocheting can be very therapeutic. um, there are moments where when I'm going through a hard time, knitting just like relaxes you. I don't know if there's any kind of like scientific backing to that or anything, but I know for me personally it's true. And yeah, I just kind of needed something, and so this was just like I said, it's just garter stitch. I just knitted and knitted and knitted and knitted until a cat bed appeared. How about you? Do you guys have ever like those moments where, or those projects in which, you just want to knit? You don't really care what you're knitting on. You just want to like knit and get your emotions out. That's kind of what I thought about this. While I was knitting this, I'm like, I'm going to knit my emotions into this instead of like going out and getting mad or doing something, I will regret later, or I decided, let me just get it all out in a more positive manner. And so I spent a weekend knitting this. And so it's funny. So after I finished knitting this, I tried to use it actually as a cat bed. And it's actually been a cat deterrent. Wherever I put it, my cat will not go. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I could use that. If there's a place I don't want my cat to go, I just put her cat bed there and she will stay away. But I'm thinking actually maybe whenever I might use this as like a bag for Leo's toys, my son. I mean, one of these days. Yeah, it could be a nice bag to play with, put his toys in. He can play, put things in and out. But for now, it's just a little cat deterrent. It's like, your mosquito spray to keep the mosquitoes away. This keeps my cat away. Yeah. Okay, so next finished object is the one that I'm actually most proud of. This one's, yeah, this one. Okay, so this is the Kvitska by Tetiana Yayovska. So she's a Ukrainian designer, and she collaborated with Hobie Yarns for this pattern. This pattern is free. You can get it on Ravelry or the Hobie website. That's actually where I found it. And yeah, the yarn that they suggest is Hobie Unicorn Solid. And I decided to go for that. And I'm so happy with the yarn so far. So far. So let me show you. Let's put them on. Hello. How you doing? It's like, I love these gloves. Y'all. Like, can I just say? These gloves are, I knitted these for the product, not for the knitting experience. It was pretty difficult. I had to rip back, when I was making the first glove, I had to rip back twice, so I had to restart 3 times. The second glove, I had figured it out, and luckily I didn't have to rip back or anything. So it took me a while. It was kind of difficult. I had a moment where I was like, maybe I should just frog this. I should just unravel it and be done. But I'm glad I went through, and yeah, I tried to wear them already, but it's too cold for fingerless mittens right now. So I am going to have to just put these aside and wait until it gets a little bit warmer to wear these bad boys. The pattern, Like I said, it's free. It's by a Ukrainian designer. It's available in many languages. I followed it in English, and it is not your average vanilla pattern. From the get-go, it's like it's just not simple. You have your provisional cast on, you have these tubular areas. Even this rib section is a bit different than just an average 1x1 rib. I mean, this is a nice stockinette part, so you get a little bit of a of a break when you get to this part. And this section here, you have these bobbles. I think they're called bubbles. I'm not really sure the technical name for them, but they give this like flower effect. So cute. I think I will show you a video of making them. It can be difficult. There is a part of these baubles in which you have to purl 7 together at the same time. And like it's hard. So I would suggest using a crochet hook when you get to that point, and when you get to some of these points where you need to like manipulate the yarn in ways that are just like more than 1 or 2 stitches at a time. So yeah, I used a crochet hook as an aid, and it worked wonders. The yarn is by Hobbii. It's unicorn solid, and I got the army green color. I purchased it on their website, hobbii.nl. If you are in Europe, I'm pretty sure, like, I don't, when I was in Italy, I was able to also order from Hobbii, and I ordered from hobbii.it. So they are very well distributed throughout Europe, and I think they have websites per country. If you live in a country in Europe and they're not available, let me know, so I don't want to give wrong information. But at least for, I know, the Netherlands and for Italy, they have their own website for the country in which you can order. This yarn is a fingering weight, and it is 75% wool and 25% nylon polyamide. Great, like I said, when there's just that little bit of plastic in there, it really gives it, like, fortifies it, and it gives it more structure, and it gives it more long lasting capabilities than just your 100% merino. And for gloves, where you're getting the most wear and you're rubbing it on things and touching things the most, it's great. And so I have a feeling that these are going to be strong and they're going to last. I've already blocked them, and they blocked great. They didn't really like bleed color very much, not at all. And I'm very happy with the way these turned out. We'll see come spring, when I'm wearing these more, how they wear, and if they pill, or if I have other problems. I will keep y'all updated. I have works in progress, or whips. I guess I like technically have 2, but I consider that I only have 1. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you the one that I am. It is for sure a work in progress. And this is my 5010 telemark cardigan by Sanya's Design. Ta-da! So this cardigan is a cardigan by Sanya's Design, which is actually also a yarn company. It is a Norwegian yarn and company. I really talked about it in my first episode as to what happened. I tried to get their yarn, I wasn't able to. So I'm not using their yarn, but I am using their pattern anyways. And the yarn that I'm using is Hobbii Highland wool. Okay, so as you can see, it is oversized, right? The cardigan is supposed to be oversized, and so I'm kind of nervous. I feel like it's a little bit too oversized. Here is where my sticking line, and yeah, I don't know, y'all. What do you think? Does it look like it's a bit too? It's too much. It's too big, oversized, or is it enough oversized? I mean, there's not really much turning back from here unless I rip back and start from zero. And it's been a journey getting getting this project to where it is. This project, I talked about it in the first episode, and thank you for the viewer who commented, gave me a huge comment with lots of information about swatching. And in my last episode, I had swatched and it was off, and I understood that it was off, but I went in the incorrect direction to fix it. I thought that I needed smaller needles and I needed to make a smaller size. They had mentioned that actually, because my swatch, how it turned out, I needed to go up a needle size, and I needed to up the size of the cardigan, which I found out a little bit before she sent that comment when I made my second swatch with smaller needles, and I was like, whoa, this is going in the incorrect direction. I found it interesting though, because usually I am a very loose knitter, and when it comes to color work, complete opposite. I become a very tight knitter when it comes to color work. I can understand why, because you're holding two colors and maybe I'm not used to color work, and so I'm not so relaxed, and so I'm more tight holding. But I didn't expect that I would go from being a loose knitter to becoming a tight knitter. I thought, maybe it would just like equal out and I would just be a regular knitter. But yeah, that's how the cookie crumbled there. In order to get the size that the pattern says would be mine, I am getting the correct gauge as the pattern. I am knitting with bigger needles, and I'm knitting the largest size cardigan that they have. It's been difficult because, like I said, if I was using their yarn, maybe it would have worked out better, but I wanted to get a yarn that was similar. It is not the same weight. It is a little bit bigger, the weight. This is a DK, and the pattern calls for sport, so it's a bit bigger. And so it's been a mess. I've had to do a lot of math and a lot of swatching, and it's definitely been difficult to get to this point where I have this here in my hand. Yeah, and so I don't know. I mean, it just looks like it's going to be freaking huge. Why don't we actually? There we go. See? I mean, if I put it on like this, right? You can see I mean, it is oversized, right? But I think it'll be okay. I did swatch and I did wash my swatches, and this yarn, it will grow whenever I wash it. So I'm not going to block it hard. It grows a little bit. It doesn't grow a lot. So it might get a little tiny bit bigger as well, according to my swatch. Let's see how this goes. Let me just mention that I have changed the pattern a bit. This lice section here, in the original pattern, the lice section is not, it's more like gritty. Like the lice doesn't go like in the diamond section. Like mine is kind of like like it kind of has like a diamond design, right? Like you have this row where the red is here, but then when it comes back here, it's not equal. It comes over here, right? And then it comes back. So it kind of gives you this like diamond effect. On the pattern, it's more gritty. It doesn't have the diamond effect. It's more gritty. It's like this. Your lice section, they go like that. And I don't know. It was too boxy for me. And this is actually when I started to work on this, I started to do some research on Norwegian traditional sweaters. But I noticed that in the traditional ones, they did their lice pattern in this way. And I like it so much more. I really do. It's just my preference. I don't know, but I prefer like this. So that's the only, other than changing things up for the size, for my size, this is the only difference in the design that I've made so far. Here is my steeking line. So when that comes about, I've never steeked before. I have been preparing myself. I've been watching a bunch of videos and doing some research on it. I found out that you can steek by felting if you're using like 100% wool, and I saw some videos on it and I read something about it, and I think I'm gonna do it that way. If any of you have steeked before by felting only, let me know, because the other ways a lot of people steek is they'll use like a sewing machine, and that's actually what the pattern requires. It says that you should use a sewing machine and sew in a line, and then you can cut through. But I don't have a sewing machine, and I don't really fancy sewing through this by hand. And the felting idea sounds way more easy, and I actually feel like maybe it feels more safe too. And so let me know if any of you guys have done that and how it turned out, because that's my plan. Yeah, so the yarn I'm really happy with so far. It's like this, I think it's a Peruvian, 100% Peruvian wool. And you can see like the texture, like the fibers, right? They have these dark black fibers inside from the sheep, and you can see it in the red as well. And I think it's just so beautiful how you can see these like little tiny black fibers, and it comes out in the work a bit, and just a little bit, you can barely see it, and I love it. It gives it this this like dimension. It gives it this other like more dimension. And also it is pretty hazy, as you can see from the yarn, and I love it. Actually, it's interesting because the red, when it hazes up and it's next to this gray, it gives it this like pinky color. Let's see how this wears out whenever it starts to like be worn. That's this. Okay, and so now the last work in progress. I don't even really consider it a work in progress because I haven't swatched or anything. However, I did buy the yarn already, and I have the pattern. So I don't know, somewhere in between a work in progress and just something in my queue. But I don't buy yarn for a project unless I'm really gonna do it. So this pattern is by Kate Atherley, and I've had this book for years. It is in her custom socks book, and the pattern I'm gonna do is called the Lindisfarne. This pattern is all color work. I think it's actually gonna be a bit difficult because the heel, gusset, the toe, it all has color work. It's not like, a lot of the times whenever I'm doing color work in a sock, you have your gusset and heel flap and your toe in like a solid. This will not be like that. And so I think it'll definitely, if it doesn't break my brain, I think that my knitting skills will improve after these. This pattern was actually recommended, or it was requested by my husband. My husband, he really wants thicker socks. Here, he's always complaining about how his toes are cold. And he was like, please, can you knit me some thick socks? And he knows that knitting a project is a dedication. And so he doesn't just ask me randomly for something and, not use it. Like if he asks for something, he will use it. And so I just tested him, and I kind of like didn't talk about it for a while, and he just kept bringing it up. And I'm like, okay, let's make you some color work socks, because color work requires you to use 2 strands, and so they will be double, they'll be thicker. And so I told him to pick a pattern in this book, and of course he picked the hardest one. But I'm excited to try it, and I'm excited to make it for him because I know he will wear them. And yeah, if you are really meticulous about your clothing fitting in specific ways, this book, Custom Socks, has been really great for that for me because I am a meticulous knitter when it comes to size, and these have been great because you really like Kate Atherley. She I don't want to show the book because I don't want to have any kind of like problems with that because this is all paid for, but it goes into detail like of like you can measure your foot specifically, and then in every sense, right? It can be the wideness, the width of your foot, the length, your arch. If you have flat feet, if you have a high arch, if you want, if you have like thick ankles or thick calves, you know, you can. She explains and gives you charts and does the math and explains how you can make socks tailored to your foot specifically. And then she gives you also many patterns. She gives you really basic vanilla stockinette patterns. There's patterns that have faux cables, patterns that have real cables, color work, even like lace socks. And so she gives you the means to knit any type of sock and have it custom made. When I went through my phase of when I stopped knitting, I had a lot of knitting books. I got rid of all of them, but I kept this. I was like, even though I'm not gonna knit anymore, this is like a really good one, a really good book to have in case I end up do knitting again. And so never got rid of this, and I'm really glad I didn't. The yarn I'm using for this, take a guess, y'all. Hobie. Hobie. Friends sock wool. This is a fingering weight, 75% wool, 25% nylon polyamide. I wanted to get very colorful and very diverse colors on the color wheel. And so this is what I picked. I didn't mean to, but we have a very Ukrainian or Swedish socks coming up here with these colors. If any of you live in Europe, specifically in the Netherlands, and you know any websites where you can buy yarn or just brands in general that are very well distributed around here that are good, please let me know. I'm trying to buy yarns that are more affordable but that are great, like really good yarns. And so far I've learned about Hobie, and so it's been my go-to to buy yarns online. I just I don't really know what there is around here. Give me some advice, you guys, in the comments if you know any good yarn brands in Europe that are accessible. Okay, so we are done with our nitty-gritty section and we're moving on to Life Unraveled. And like I mentioned, I'm gonna be knitting with you guys while we go through this section. There's not much to talk about, and so if you just want somebody to knit with, or you know, go ahead, get something to knit on, and let's just sit here together for a bit and do this. I have to admit, like, color work and this like whole having to have to manage like the two yarns at the same time with a toddler and a cat, it's like, whew, it's not easy. Okay, so a bit about life right now. It is February. It is the week of Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is on Friday, and it's Thursday. My husband right now is in the U.S. He had to go back for work. Okay. Let's see, where am I at here? Okay, I have to do the color work section. So yeah, he's in the U.S. right now. I've been here um, with my son alone for the past week, and yeah. Um, we have been trying to get more like acclimated here. There are some things in the pipeline. Um, one of them I'm not gonna talk about because it's not for sure. I'll mention it if it actually ends up happening. But the other thing, it is happening, and um, I ended up getting a seasonal job here. So this will be my first job ever in the Netherlands, and it's seasonal. I think it's really good. Even if I were living in a place that's my own, like my own country back in the U.S., I still think a seasonal job would be best right now because, you know, being a mother and everything and taking care of the household, I'm not really sure if I have the time right now to be having like a full-time job or even a part-time job. Hold on, my cat wants to go out. And so yeah, I have this seasonal job, and guess where it's at? If you've ever been a tourist in the Netherlands in the spring, you might know. It's a park called Keukenhof, and it's this really it's a park. It's a tulip park, and it's only open in the spring when the tulips are in bloom, and it's open for 8 weeks. I will be working at Kokenhof. I'll be working in the souvenir shops, and I'm excited. I live relatively close. I'm able to bike there. It will take me like probably like 40 minutes to bike or something like that. But I could also just take the bus. And so I'm excited. I was lucky that, you know, they need so many people and they don't mind that I don't speak Dutch. They're like, there's some things that you're going to need to learn that like the system is in Dutch or whatever, but I'm sure you can do it. Other people have. And don't worry, like if you just speak English, it's not a problem. And so that was just so lucky that I found that. And so I start training in March, and then I start working at the park late March, and then it'll be going on until like mid-May. And so I'm only giving them like specific amount of time, days and hours unavailable. So it'll be like a part-time thing, but I think it's gonna be really fun, and and yeah, it'll be a good way to get more um, into the Dutch culture and that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, Kokenhof, even it's just, I've been as a tourist. It is amazing. It was one of those things that like really like, I had to like, it took my breath away. The first time I saw a field of tulips, oh my gosh, in bloom. Um, yeah, and so that's what's happening in this spring with me. Leonardo, my son, he's been doing daycare. We gave him, at first we were just doing 3 days a week. Now we've moved it to 5 days a week because he loves it, and it's really great for my husband and I. We're able to get a lot more things done and have more time for ourselves. And so it's been I think it'll be a really good thing. Anyways, the daycare, it's not all day. We're just doing like 4 hours a day in the morning. And yeah. What else can I talk about? Let's see. So, I am also an avid reader. I have been, and I just finished. a book. Pretty like, I guess I'm pretty proud of myself that I read such a book without like a professor or a teacher to guide me. Maybe I could have understood it better if I had one, but anyways, I digress. I was reading Plato's The Republic. I finished it the other day. I loved it. I really did. I just recently got into reading Plato and getting more into like philosophy, Western philosophy. And this book is just so interesting how Socrates, because you're reading, the book is by Plato, but the story is in the eyes of Socrates, and he's having these discussions with these people, and they're discussing about, what's the best way to live your life? Is the best way to be a just man, or is it the best way to be an unjust man? And you have people there talking and being like, well, obviously, like a just man is the best way to live. But then you have like this other guy, and he's like, well, no, actually, I think the just man is not living the best life. I think it's the unjust man that's living the best life. And they have their quarrels, and they have their discussions and their arguments. And then while they're on their way, they're walking home, they're like, well, let's figure this out. And Socrates is like, okay, well, yeah, you're right. Let's figure this out. However, in order to find this, we need to figure out what a perfect society would be, right? And let's just start from zero. Let's create a society from zero, and let's see, where does this just unjust come in? And so this whole book is pretty much him creating a perfect society and talking about how societies that we have are imperfect and why they're imperfect and where they go wrong and how they'll get worse. And it's just so mind opening to read these things. Obviously, the perfect society, he says, and it's obvious, it's not something that will probably ever come to fruition. It's kind of crazy. A lot of it is very similar to, if you've ever read Huxley's A Brave New World, very similar in that sense. And anyways, the whole book is not about you coming in there being like, oh, let me hear what Plato has to say about the perfect society and let's do it. It's more like, hey, why don't we think about things? Like, why don't we, think about how we're living in our society, and let's see how others live and why they do things the way they do, and let's think. Let's use our brains a bit. And yeah, I found it very enlightening. I think that this book, though, you obviously have to be careful. You don't want, I don't think it's good to be read if you're like too young, or maybe you need to have like somebody to guide you through it, like a teacher or a professor, because I feel like if you do take it too literally, his idea of a perfect society, it could be bad, possibly. Because some of these things that they do in a perfect society are kind of, I guess, taboo right now. But anyways, yeah, I just read that, and I'm trying to read more books that I have on my shelf that I have not read, and I'm in the Dostoevsky mood. Fyodor Dostoevsky. I have read The Idiot by Dostoevsky. But I've never read his big ones, and I have them. I have the Brothers Karamazov, and I have, what is it called? Crime and Punishment. Honestly, Crime and Punishment to me just doesn't sound like my cup of tea. Like the storyline and everything, I don't know. So I think I might go with the Brothers Karamazov, and I'm kind of in the mood right now for something like that. So I think whenever my husband gets home and I have more time, I'm gonna try and open up that big bad boy and get started on that, possibly. But who knows? Maybe I'll change my mind. But at the moment, that's what I'm thinking. So yeah, let me just finish this row, and then we're gonna close up here. Are you guys English knitters or continental knitters? I am definitely an English flicker knitter. I like to knit English style, but I knit pretty fast because I flick. I gotta be honest, y'all. I think after these two colorwork projects, I think I'm gonna back off from colorwork for a little bit. I am just kind of in the mood for like just one yarn. Like I'm getting kind of tired of having two yarns always going by. I hope you guys like this whole knitting section here together. Let me know what you think, if you like it or not. These little quiet moments in order to knit together. If you have any questions or any suggestions on what we can talk about during this Life Unraveled, please leave a comment and let me know. I would like to have more discussion with you guys. And so yeah, feel free, please leave me a comment in this video. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you're knitting on, if you have any suggestions for me or whatever. One other modification I'm going to do to this pattern is I'm not going to make it as long as it wants it to be like not only oversized but like, well, in every sense, oversized widthwise and lengthwise, and I don't really want this cardigan to be super long lengthwise, so I'm going to probably cut it off and make shorter. So like, I don't mind if it reaches like my bum, but I don't really want it to go, down to my legs and stuff. So I don't know. Let's see. So if you're still watching, let me know in the comments where you are watching from. Where are you in this world that we are living in? Where are you? Are you here in the Netherlands? If you are, what city? Are you in the US? Where? Let me know. I'd like to know where y'all are. Okay, so I finished one whole row. Well, that's it for today. I think we did a lot of talking. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and leave me a nice comment. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.